back to the Dosey Boy podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and we got the special Jesse Nyberg on today on the podcast. Jesse, how you doing, man?
I'm good. A little tired. I think I was telling you before when we were walking up here, like you were like, "Oh, what'd you do today?" And I said nothing because I like to do just like a certain type of task in one day. So even after this, I'm probably just gonna go do like laundry or some shit.
I feel that. Yeah, just a normal day.
Yeah.
You're a normal person, and some people forget that when they're watching people on screens. I think that they see your videos or whatever they're watching, and they're like, "Oh, this guy was always designing, probably, or making some type of art." But
Yeah.
here to let them know too, you're just a normal person doing normal things too.
Right. Yeah. I feel guilty sometimes too about like just not going hard or whatever all the time, but
Yeah.
I think that that's a problem. Like I shouldn't be forced to, like, the cool part about being like a freelancer and doing also like the content stuff is the fact that I can do stuff whenever I want and however long. But I've noticed that if you get into like that flow where you're always working a lot all the time, it's good because it keeps you accountable and it keeps you consistent.
Yeah.
But then if you you don't give yourself breaks, after a while. And then if you get into the part where you're like, I'm a chill, like I do whatever I want, it's hard to get back into that, like always doing shit. So there's a weird balance you got to figure out,
Because when you're working too much and like you're going super hard, you forget to take a break. You forget everything that's like outside that's going on in your life. It's just like this one thing you're focusing on or whatever you're doing. And then, if you chill, like that you could be chilling for like a long time and you just fall off and you stop doing like anything. So it's the balance between those for sure. We're talking about earlier too. You have your YouTube channel, Jesse Nyberg, and you also have the Jesse Nyberg podcast where you interview usually designers or artists. And I saw that you recently are pausing it kind of. And so, if you could just touch on that.
Yeah.
Taking a break.
Yeah, it's basically because I want to devote a little bit more time into the more polished content and like the stuff I want to be held to a more rigid schedule like I do, where it's like, oh, every Thursday this is a podcast and every Tuesday or every other Tuesday I put out a video. The podcast coming out every week was making me feel like I also had to post a video every week or else it would start to fill up with too many podcasts in a row. And I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm all about podcasts only. Same with the Instagram feed and shit. Like if it filled up with too many clips or podcasts or reels, I was like, damn, where's all the cool design shit at? I don't want it to be all one thing. So now that I'm kind of taking a break, I think I might come back with it eventually, or eventually sounds long, but at some point, I want to have it on a new channel though, because I kind of discovered through all my analytics and stuff, there's not a lot of crossover between who enjoys like the normal shorter form and like medium form content and like the long form podcast. The podcast is more of like a deeper relationship with the audience, like you're growing it horizontally, whereas like other videos is what grows the actual channel like up.
That's understandable. And your podcast is really, I was trying to find like words to describe it, but it's like warm and cozy. And like you definitely have an easy voice to listen to, which I think people like a lot. So that's super cool that you can do that. And you ask a lot of good questions too. And you have, like you did the one with Aaron Drapp, and that's pretty much how I got into you. I discovered him beginning of COVID. I was so bored. I was trying to just try all these different ventures of like hobbies and things I wanted to do.
Right.
And originally I started as graphic design. Then I wanted to go into like making a clothing brand, make my own designs. But then I found out that making designs like is a lot of work and like people don't want to put that work into it.
Yeah.
So I kind of like fell off of that. But yeah, your video like with Aaron Draplin definitely got me into that. I bought all of his books and everything too. But like that was pretty cool. Like you talked to him.
Yeah, he's tight, man.
Yeah. OG.
When I was in college, he was like my favorite designer, and I would do like projects about him and shit whenever we had to do these like faux presentations or like, find like an inspirational person and make like a book about them or some like kind of bullshit assignment. But yeah, I really liked his approach to design, and I liked how he was very kind of he didn't really like that I said this, but like blue collar, because he was like, that disrespects the people that are doing like hard work because I'm just sitting at a computer. but like, in essence, in his vibe, it's a
Yeah,
lot
I
more.
see that.
It's not like all suited out and like boring and corporate. Even though his design style is super clean, I feel like he brings a cool approach. Like he's probably the closest thing that we have in the design world to like a celebrity or whatever of that. Besides like, rest in peace, like Virgil or someone in another type of
Yeah,
design like
definitely.
that.
Yeah. One thing that's pretty motivating and inspiring is that you're pretty consistent posting YouTube videos, and you were working a normal design job before that, right?
Mhm.
Or like the same time, I guess, when you started your YouTube channel and now you're freelance.
Yeah.
Like, how's that journey been?
Yeah, I mean that shit was hard. Looking back on it, I don't really know how I did it because especially early on, like I really don't feel like I gotten any real good momentum on the YouTube channel until like the past 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
Like I probably gotten like 5,000 subscribers or something in the past like week or two,
Oh wow.
which is like pretty like insane because I had
Yeah.
like a video blow up, but it took me almost, let's see, over a year to get 1,000. So it's just
Really.
funny to think that you can get 5,000 in like that short of time and it not feel like it didn't feel like, oh, what the fuck, like I'm popping off or whatever. It just felt like, oh, cool. But like that first 100 was like insane, or that first 1,000, like the the rewards have like diminishing returns, I feel like. And that's why you see people that are like famous, with the million subscribers kind of acting like, oh yeah, it was cool. Like I got 1 million or 500,000. It's not because they're like ungrateful, but you get desensitized to that kind of
I
shit.
see.
Like
Yeah.
your threshold for success just gets raised. So that's like an internal. It's kind of depressing, but it's like an eternal like thing that you'll never meet. Like you never win or accomplish like the thing unless you set like a rigid goal and that's it, and then you stop. Because it's
Yeah.
always like more, 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 and that's like the double-edged sword of it. But when I had a job, like I would do everything on Saturday and
Okay.
Sunday. So I would do videos on Saturday, try to edit them all. I had my homie Vince that was living with me and my girl at the time. He would edit my videos. And I had like no money, so I'd give him like $20 or something. And like it sucked because like he deserved more, but he did it, so I was like grateful. And then I started doing my own, but and then on Sundays I would do like freelance work, or Saturdays also do freelance work. And then I worked 9 to 5, more like 9 to like 8 sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
because I used to work at this agency that made like movie posters for Hollywood. So like
Okay.
key art, we'd work on like Netflix, HBO, Paramount, all these big productions,
Yeah.
and like we'd do like the art. And that industry is like shitty. It's very like toxic, and like they have a lot of crazy hours. Like sometimes if we had to finish a project for like Amazon Prime or whatever, we'd go in at 9 and they'd order us dinner and stuff because we'd be there till like 10 or 11 and come back in at
Damn.
like 9 or 8.
That's crazy.
And luckily I was still on hourly at the time, so I got overtime, but it was like hellish. And like I was looking at the people up above me, the art directors, and they were there too. So I was like, oh damn, this doesn't really get any better. Like this is just this kind of job. You just get
Yeah.
paid more eventually. So I kind of just quit after like maybe 8 months or something. Maybe a year, I don't know. I always try to
I
get
mean, that's a good chunk of
yeah.
time. You experienced
And I
that.
quit,
So.
and then COVID happened like a month later. And I got another job in that small time between me quitting and COVID happening. So if I would have let myself, everyone else I knew got fired there too.
Really?
The juniors, the junior art directors. So my like kind of fuck this jobness gave me that one little sliver a month to get a new job, because I wouldn't have got hired at the new job during COVID, and I would have got fired at the last one. So I got
Interesting.
very lucky, and I had no, it was just like one of those like cliche, like shit always works out type things,
Yeah.
And I worked at this place called Art of Sport, which was co-founded by Kobe, and it was like this sports body care company, like deodorant and all this stuff. And we
Mhm.
got to work with like James Harden and people like that, and do
Wow.
all this cool like kind of campaigns and stuff. And that's when I really started getting into the YouTube, and I was working that job. I was the brand designer there. Like I was doing everything design, like photo shoots, packaging, all this shit. So it got really hard to also do the YouTube.
Mhm.
So I started to like slack a little bit at my job, and then also pursue some freelance so I could get some more clients.
Yeah.
And once I felt comfortable, I just like quit that job too, and then went freelance and went on the YouTube. But it took me a while till like the last 3 months to make any even mentionable money from like YouTube, and it's been like more than 2 years.
Yeah. In those 2 years, have you burnt out? like burn yourself out at all from making content?
Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
think that burnout isn't you either are or you aren't. Like I feel like there's thresholds to it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
or not thresholds. Like it's a spectrum, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Like some people think like, oh, I'm burnt out, like I'm not making anything else, or I'm going. I feel like I go in and out between the things. I think you have to reach that level. It's like it's hard because I tried to like preach mental health and all this shit and like have a good schedule and like be respectful of your time and like don't do too much, but it almost seems like all the people that have done anything dope have like done that too much at some point.
Yeah.
And like they talk about it in hindsight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of fear that that's just like a part of the process a little bit. I've gotten
Definitely.
healthier with it now and I'm more scheduled. Like I said, I might not do shit today.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I'd have went home and like made my own podcast or video or whatever, you know?
I see. Yeah. Definitely. That's interesting. Do you ever? I'm sure you do, but do you ever have the feeling you're just like, I want to quit all of this? Like even stop doing design or stop doing YouTube and almost just like give in to society and just work like a regular job? Have you ever had that feeling before?
Yeah, but my giving in isn't like to society, like normal job. It's just getting a job as a designer.
Interesting. Yeah, that's
Like
true.
I'd still be doing something cool. Like I know like not to be like too confident or whatever, but I feel like with the experience I've gained the past few years, I have a pretty good like chance to where if I wanted to just go and get a job at like a studio or something,
Totally.
like I
Yeah.
could, you know.
100%.
And I know a lot of people that work at studios, like even the creative directors at ones in like Venice and Santa Monica and
Mhm.
stuff. And that's all I wanted when I was in school. You know, all I wanted to do was work at a cool agency or like, you know, like at Pentagram in New York or some shit. And it's weird how easily like you can be so obsessed with something and then you do something else and it completely like I don't care about that at all anymore.
Yeah.
I'd so much rather you give up some of the big clients like working with Nike and stuff at the studio, but working with yourself or working for yourself is like such a invaluable thing. Like it's so cool. I really am grateful that I can even like do this. When I was working at that job till 9 and shit, I never thought I'd be like I'm not doing shit on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty cool.
I saw one of your recent videos about the Adobe Max, like the
Mhm.
thumbnail. So did you do like you worked for Adobe for that project?
Yeah, yeah. So they do this agency. I don't think I can talk about their name.
That's
I'm
fine.
not sure, but they do this thing called co-create where let's say there's like 20, they need 20 people to do 20 different things for Adobe.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna hire you to do the like the screen printing at the place. I'm gonna make the thumbnails for the YouTube live like sessions. This person's gonna make the flyers for the event.
Mm-hmm.
And they get someone that has like a niche expertise in the design or art or like social media creativity space.
Yeah.
Like some people did shit like making Instagram filters, you know, or something like that. And they get everyone to do something. And I assume they hired me because I do design and I also do YouTube. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty obsessive with like the YouTube stuff and like trying to figure out the thumbnails and like kind of like Mr. Beastifying it or whatever you want to call it, like
Yeah.
really get into the like analytics and stuff. So I think that showed through when they like pitched me the idea and I was like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Like you guys always do this shit. Like, no, we're going to do the big ass head, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever and
Okay.
try it that way. And those haven't even went out yet because what I realized was the ones I was making were for the ones that were recorded there in LA. So the videos aren't edited yet.
I see.
So I was like, where are my thumbnails when they were putting out the live streams or
Yeah.
whatever? But they're for the in-person session. So we'll see. But that was dope, man. Like it's some good clickbait too, you know? Like,
Definitely. Yeah.
that shit was cool.
It's crazy because like you are a designer and that's your main thing and you're really good at it, but you're also
Thank
a
you.
filmmaker and just an artist. Like
Mhm.
I was thinking about that too. It's like you make YouTube videos, so you are a filmmaker, and I guess you could put the label a YouTuber.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just did you know how to like edit videos and make videos before starting the YouTube, or you just learn as you went through it?
No, not really at all. I feel like I've gotten pretty good at editing and pretty good at kind of just piecing together footage. But the reason I would like disagree that I'm like any type of filmmaker is because I feel like films unless you're doing a documentary, have like a story. And I feel like I
Okay.
need to get better at storytelling. That's
I
like
get
my
that.
next step.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I don't want to just be like another designer that's doing like, yeah, like tutorials or whatever, like I said. So I look to inspiration to people on YouTube that are making like kind of little movies and shit, you know, and like
Yeah.
I just like suck at like shooting shit right now. Like I need to figure out
It's a lot of work.
like, yeah,
It really
it's hard
is.
to do that. And then the added pressure of I'm also gonna like make something within this video. Like
Yeah.
at least when you're just like, you know, let's say you're like Casey Neistat or someone
Mhm.
like that is like a big obvious like example, but he's a videographer and a filmmaker and his storytelling is good and he takes you through this journey, but it's not like in the video he's also like, we're gonna make another movie or we're gonna make a
That's
design
true.
or we're gonna
Yeah.
make this like logo or whatever. So that part gets hard sometimes trying to make something interesting, make something good for retention and make something have a good story, but also give the value prop that like I'm also a designer and we're going to make something,
Yeah.
you know, or I'm going to teach something.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to just be all, it can't be all education because that's boring and it can't be all entertainment because I'm not an entertainer.
Yeah.
So
Have you watched the newer Casey Neistat videos?
yeah, they're dope.
Yeah, they're really good. Like I just watched the one before I came here, his newest one about the New York City Marathon.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna watch that
like,
later.
yeah, I'm like, dude, he can make a video about anything and I'll watch it. Like they're
Hmm.
so entertaining and so creative,
For
and
sure.
he makes it look so easy, like such a like do it yourself kind of
Yeah, but
style.
you know he's legit and you
But
know how hard it is
it's a
to
lot.
set
Yeah, he
up all
puts
those
a lot
cameras.
of work into that.
Yeah.
Just every little thing, dude.
Like when
It's
he runs
insane.
downstairs and it's like 8 cuts. It's like
Yeah.
do and it's like that must have took him like 20 minutes, you know, just to set up all those
And it
shots.
must be interesting to watch him from the outside, like filming these in New York or wherever he's
Yeah.
filming.
He has the luxury too, I think, that he's so established that people don't fuck with him
Oh,
if he's
totally.
doing something.
Yeah.
Like no other person can put their camera in like a phone booth and leave it there and ride off on an electric skateboard. Someone will jack that shit.
Yeah.
But he probably has someone being like, yo, can you watch this real quick? I'm gonna do a
Seriously,
little
yeah.
skate off sequence. And they're like, oh yeah, I love you or whatever.
Dude, yeah, you move back to New York and like everyone just loves him there in that city. Like you just on all the videos, people are just like, "Yo, Casey," like that's
Yeah.
crazy. Just to like, that's I don't know. That's
I
so
really
cool.
like his brother too. Have you ever
Van
seen his
Neistat?
videos? Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I love his videos.
Yeah,
They're so like,
they're dope. He's like, I like him because, like I was saying, I follow a lot of the YouTubers and I look to them for like the inspiration with
Definitely. Yeah.
like retention and all that and like editing. But I
Mhm.
like he's like so anti YouTuber. Like he has these like shorter kind of abstract titles and like weird storytelling about you don't even know what it's gonna be because it's just like a picture of like a broken down car or something
Yeah.
on the thumbnail. And all of a sudden he's like taking on this like little journey or he's building like a cool contraption or some
I
shit.
love those videos, and the music he puts in those too, where like it just draws you in. Like, it's so
Yeah.
different than everything else you watch.
It's like horror almost. Like he has
Horror, like
droning sounds and shit.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane. It's really dramatic. Have you seen the Neistat brother their show they had on HBO?
No, I didn't know about them way back then. But
Well, they're all on YouTube, all the episodes,
Oh,
and
for
they're
real?
super. It's like pretty much what they do now, but super low quality, like the video. But
yeah.
it's the storytelling that really like draws you in.
Yeah, I'm very envious of Van's archival like footage he has because
Yeah.
sometimes I like to. The biggest like thing I learned about YouTube, like when I'm making one of those videos where I'm doing a like talking head or whatever you want to call it, and we're talking about like this is something about like design or freelance or how to make money doing this or this and that. You really need like that B-roll and shit, you know, to like
Yeah.
engage the viewer unless you're shooting something like more vlog style where you're moving around. And he just seems like he could reference anything from the past and he has like some Super 8 footage of like
Yeah,
Central
seriously.
Park in 1980 or whatever and it's like damn I have to go on like stock footage and shit or whatever.
It's like he literally filmed everything that went on in his life.
Yeah.
And you can just watch it on YouTube.
Because
and-
people don't have footage that are that old unless they're like true filmmaker people because no one was having cameras in like that time.
Yeah, most people don't even think about it at all.
Right.
It's crazy. And then, yeah, everyone has a camera now in their pocket with their phone, and everyone's just filming themselves pretty much, or like what event they're at. But that's totally okay. But it's really interesting to think about sometimes.
Yeah. I think people's first of all, everyone's default is vertical, which is like not good for using it later for anything.
Yeah.
And then they also like, let's say I'm watching something, half the people's what do you call it? Like
Attention span?
not
No.
attention span, like half the people's like what they would do by default if they saw something cool, half the people would do it this way, you know? Because they're like, look, I saw this, instead of like, well, look at this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Or they record it vertically, and it's like, what are you going to use that for besides like fucking TikTok or some shit?
Well, I mean, that's where TikTok did it right. It's all about the vertical video.
Yeah.
And yes, because sometimes on Instagram, people can post like 30-minute long videos now on Instagram or something like that, but they'll put like the horizontal ones, and like it's like it's not appealing to watch.
Yeah.
Like it is on YouTube, because YouTube, that's what you're used to, just turning your phone and making it full screen. But on Instagram,
or just the black bars are there, and it's kind of lame.
Yeah. With your podcast, I saw this stat. Do you know how many episodes you've done on your podcast? Because it's quite a few. It's more than like the average podcast.
Probably 94.
Yeah, so almost 100.
Probably 100 if you include like over 120 if you include all the bonus ones I did on Patreon and stuff.
I would include those.
Yeah,
sure.
so but on YouTube probably about 92. I tried to get to 100 before I did this like hiatus or whatever, but I just had to do it at that time. I wasn't gonna do 8 more just to do it or whatever.
Yeah, I saw this stat on Reddit, and it's 90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3, and that's 1.8 million who quit. And then of the 200,000 left, 90% will quit after 20 episodes, and that's another 180,000 people gone. So like I've only been doing this for a year now, and this is like my 14th or 15th episode. It's not, I don't have like that many things, but like it's what I want to do, pursue it. And I don't think when people start out, they realize how hard it is to actually like start a podcast. Even if it's just audio and it's by yourself, it's like there's a whole formula to it. There is, but there's also not. You got to like find your own way of doing it in that formula. Yeah. Pretty much. You can't just call someone up and start a conversation and just ask a bunch of like boring questions. You know?
Right. You also need an angle and a why. Like, why do I care about this? Why should I watch this? Like, I hadn't, like, me bringing these cool guests on that people like look up to, and I feel like my social proof of like, oh, I'm also a designer and I've done some cool stuff has allowed me to get in contact with those people, and that helps. But like, if it was just me bringing on other people, then we talked about like bullshit, I'm not that interesting. Like, it's not like it was a huge success or anything, but it wouldn't have done nearly as well if I wasn't niching down like that. Like, everyone just wants to be like, me and my bros are so funny, like we're gonna do a podcast, you know?
Dude. No one really wants to actually. I tried doing that here the last time I edited it with my 2 buddies, and like it just wasn't like it. Right. Like I like to interview, first off, people I'm really interested in, but my thing is like creatives from all fields, so like comedians, designers, musicians, like whatever it is. And I have to be like really interested in the person to talk to them. I can't just like, even though like I'm still like new to this, friends and people always recommend, oh, you should interview my friend, or you should interview this guy to have like more episodes. And like, dude, like I'll check them out, but I'm like, usually I'm not interested in anything they're doing. And not that the following matters, but it's just like a normal person. Right. Not that I have a huge following, but I don't know. I just can't do it to someone I'm not into. Right. And doing like, you interviewed mainly designers, so like I could see why that could be super repetitive, and like you run out of things to talk about because it's just all about design. It's just, maybe you guys are talking about like things you've noticed doing it, or like ways of doing things, or complaining about like things that you don't like in like some programs or whatever. So
yeah, and I think I was worried about that for a little bit. I think there was times where I found the most interesting people and I didn't care that their following or whatever was lower, and those performed well because I started to be they're already coming to watch them on my thing rather than relying solely on the person's like promotion. That's true. There is one. And there's been times where I'm like, this guy is kind of cool, or this girl or whatever, but they have a huge following, so I'm like, this might be a good move. And like, it didn't even like do that much better. So like that shit doesn't matter unless it's like insane, you know?
That's
like
true.
Like I have like probably 60,000 followers or something on Instagram, and just because I tell you that I went on this doesn't mean people are gonna go watch it, you know? Like they might, like the ones that really like me or whatever, but it's still reliant on you building your own thing here.
Yeah.
Like that's what was cool is I felt as I got farther into it, I could bring on like the people where no one knew who they were, and I was giving them the platform rather than like the not the power, but the perspective started to shift a little bit as it got bigger.
Definitely.
You know, I relied less on the guest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I saw you interviewed Chris Do, and I used to watch it's the Future, right? His YouTube channel. That was super cool. Like I saw the video and I was like, this guy looks really familiar. Then like you said the Future, and I was like, oh. I was like, when I found you, I was watching his videos too about the design
he's
and
a
stuff.
legend. He's cool, man. That was pretty surreal because he's big business. Like his time matters to him, you know. And he was like, I'll give you an hour or whatever, and we busted it out. But that was very not like a bucket list because it's not like I was like, oh, Chris Do, but people are always like, where should I get Chris Do? Because like I said with Draplin, like if you're talking about like someone that's transcended like just being a designer, he's probably actually even more than him, like on who knows who he is. He's closer to like Gary Vee than he is to like a big designer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's kind of transcended that, like he's just a entrepreneur or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that was pretty weird because he was so much more like down to earth and chill than I thought. Because he there's some people that like kind of give him shit, you know, and like because he's been very like repetitive in his methodology and like charged $20,000 for a logo or whatever, and like it's all in good love. But there's people that have been like kind of like he's a little too salesy. But then I realized like, nah, like he just has the best interest out for people, and like that's just you. When you convey a message online, you can't give all the little caveats and nuances and shit. Like I have people complain to me all the time when I say like, you should save this amount of money if you want to go freelance, or you should do this to set up your portfolio. And there's always like some like asshole basically that's like, well, that's not everyone. Like I have this portfolio, or my friend said I can do my thing with it, whatever. And it's like, all right, go ahead. Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying like this is my personal recommendation. But if I tell you that with all those nuances, like, hey, save this amount of money, unless you're this person and you live in this area and this area, it ruins the whole fucking point. And it's just like, I don't know. I think that's why the internet's kind of like a weird thing, because you can't like fully convey like the nuances when you're explaining something. Like you don't know sarcasm, you don't know like the whole thing. Like I don't know.
It's almost like texting sometimes. You don't know like you don't. Sometimes you can read it, but you could also be just making up like the type of energy that's going on in yourself and that you think is going on. Because like unless you know the person really well, it's like hard to tell if they're being funny or sarcastic over text. Like it's not even real. You're just typing to them. It's just weird.
Yeah, like boomers, they always like, I always think they're like pissed off at me. Like,
dude, my mom always texts me K.
Yeah, or they're like whatever, and I'm like, what's good? And they're just like, no, whatever. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't say whatever.
Yeah,
that's like,
no, isn't that weird? That's like a thing. Like,
yeah,
it's just so weird.
Yeah, it's a generational divide, and I talk to some younger people too, and sometimes I don't know what they're talking about either, even though I'm only 25.
Yeah,
it's weird. Like
I totally get that. Yeah, because like we grew up with technology and stuff. All these trends are gonna start happening with kids that are in middle school and high school. Like when we were in high school and middle school, like there was things that we're into that.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay, yeah.
So we're around the same age. But like I see like TikTok is a huge thing, especially for young people. I go to like I'll go out to the beach and stuff, and I'll see kids doing all these like things that they saw on TikTok. Just humans like just walking by and stuff. I'm like, whoa, like they think this is super funny.
Like trends.
Yeah, a big one is like the NPC, like acting like an NPC. So you're like walking out there like you're in a video game or something, and you're just like, what the heck? Like it's dude, I see that all the time. Always young kids, they're like waving to people.
We used to be at the beach. We just didn't record it, but we would do like planking and all that bullshit. You know?
I never did that. I remember that. Yeah, I just
like I'm not. It's not like I was serious about it. Like we did that too. Or people in my middle school, they like jerked a lot. You know, like the dancing.
That was like huge.
Or like just all that like swag era like type shit with the snapbacks and stuff like that. That was whack, but like we thought it was cool, and that's probably how they think. Like, oh, you guys don't know about this NPC shit, or like,
dude, I just found. Remember the wristbands that said "I heart boobies"?
Yeah,
you get like at Tilly's or Zoomers or whatever. Like, I just found mine. I had in my drawer.
Yeah,
I was like, this was a huge thing. I remember not having one, And they were, at the time they were like $4. I'm like, dude, $4 is a lot of money to buy this. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about money, or
I
I was
remember
like, I
those.
just wanted this so bad because everyone else had one.
Yeah. I stole one of those one time in middle school
Really?
because I was like, this shit's hard. Like,
Same with like the power, like the power
oh yeah,
balance bands or
the
whatever they're
baseball
called.
kids, they try to show you that like they could like they'd be like this
Dude, that
and
was the
stuff.
stupidest thing.
Yeah, that's like such a scam. That was like pyramid scheme level of like scam. Like
Yeah.
those proved to be nothing. It's like some metallic in there or
It's
something.
insane. Yeah, and I think I'm sure you can still buy that somewhere online.
Yeah, Big Five or something.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up here, or I guess like the last question. But I wrote this down. I was thinking about it. I like you. Obviously, you gain inspiration from other things besides like graphic designers and artists. But like it's just I like to watch, whether it's your videos or like Casey Neistat or some just YouTubers.
Mhm.
It's just like it's so entertaining. Even though I don't do design at all, I like to watch your videos. Like it's just weird. Like can you relate to that? I'm guessing.
With other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like where do you gain a lot of inspiration from that's not from like artists or designs?
It's hard because like a lot of the stuff I like to watch, it's like that's like art, you know? Like the people that I like to watch, they're their own artists.
That's
They're
true.
filmmakers or videographers or whatever. But I also I don't know, like that I used to ask people that a lot, like, well, where do you get inspiration and stuff?
I guess it's just like you gotta just it just
It's
happens when it happens.
yeah, it's vague. Like I don't know. Like I think you're always getting inspired by everything all at once, always. And like you might not know the connections that you make when you're working on something later when you're working on it, but
Mhm.
it's like it's not like, oh, I just study like the masters all day or whatever and like try to figure out like I don't like set aside time to gain inspiration, you know? It's just kind of like sometimes it happens, but also like being a designer, I think that there's a lot more crossover with artists now where it's a little bit more art focused, at least with like our generation, and everything isn't like only design only for the client, whereas how it used to be.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it still is more than artist. It's not all about me, you know? So
True.
even if I don't have inspiration, like I have to have inspiration if I'm working on a project. Like
Yeah.
I can't just not do it if it's something that I've already agreed to do. So I think the best form of inspiration sometimes is just doing shit. Like sometimes people have creative block and stuff, and I have too, but I noticed that like once you get into it, that's usually where the block isn't. It's not there when you're already starting. It's the act of starting, I think,
Mhm.
that people have trouble with. But once you get in and you're cooking, I feel like it starts to,
Definitely.
you're like, oh yeah, like I could do this shit every day, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just like, I'm kind of like just inspired by like wanting to I just want to get better at what I'm doing. Like it's cool to like look back and see like that shit was trash that I did because you know you're better now.
Yeah.
Like that's like a good feeling. It's inspiring. Like I'm just inspired to be like a little bit better each day, I think.
You find it easy to move on from like this past stuff. You just keep wanting to do like new stuff, and like once that's your new stuff's your old stuff, you don't really think about that, or do you go back and like look at that stuff?
Yes. I don't know. It's hard because I really all when I was younger, I always wanted to have like a style, you know,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "Oh, that's Jesse's shit, or that's Glue's shit." But it's almost like in the act of not ever finding a style, it kind of happened like organically, and like people, I think, this other designer and singer Foi,
Mhm.
she told me on my podcast I did with her that other people, she thinks other people define your style for you, you know? Because I was like, I
Totally.
don't think I have a style. And she was like, yeah, you do. Like, look at this. This is all like this. And I'm like, oh shit, you're right. Because I think if you try to force it, it's like that can get repetitive and boring.
Yeah.
So I try to always switch it up and do new things and not get stale. But you got to keep that little thread like kind of going
Definitely.
through it all, you know?
Yeah, I can see what she's talking about. Like I see it definitely if you go into your Instagram or on your YouTube, like I see like your style you have, and I don't know how to explain it. Like I have no words how to explain it.
Right.
If I see it, like I know how that is.
Yeah, it's hard to that kind of stuff's so like abstract. It's hard to give it like everything doesn't need like a genre, you know, or a
Yeah.
label or whatever.
That's true.
It's all bullshit anyway. Like you look at some of the bands, it's like melodic, funky deathcore. And it's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is that? It's
Yeah.
metal, you know? Or what?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good place to end it off.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you want to just plug yourself real quick where people can find you.
Yeah. That one?
The middle one, right? Or that one.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So Jesse Nyberg, I do stuff on YouTube, mainly Instagram, and my website's jessenyberg.design. YouTube's just Jesse Nyberg, and I have a newsletter too. It's called Glue's Letter. You can find that on my other social medias and stuff. I've been messing with that, sending it out every week. But other than that, YouTube, Instagram, Jesse Nyberg is everywhere, or Permanent Glue on Instagram. But yeah.
Dope.
And thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Of course. Thank you, guys.